Yes, we have been discussing about anthropology PYQ series. So today I am going to explain how UPSC is clever. The same question they might ask in a different manner. So this I am taking it from religion chapter, and for this question itself, it is very important. So many times it has been came in the exam. So what is that question? So you can see, how did Clifford Geertz took look at the religion? Differentiate between anthropological and psychological approaches to the study of religion. So this question came in exam in 2023 for 15 marks. And at the same time, we can see in 2019, the same question is there. Critically explain the anthropological approaches to religion. So here, there is a little bit differences, but most of the time, two questions are talking about the same answer. So that means the content is same, but they have been differently asking the same kind of concept. So first of all, Clifford Geertz means he was interpretative anthropologist. So interpretative anthropologist. So this question comes in the part of religious thinkers. So if you observe symbolic and interpretative anthropology. So symbolic and interpretative anthropology. So there was a talk about Clifford Geertz studied about Balinese religion. Okay, he studied about the Balinese religion. So basically, so this was the part of symbolic or interpretative anthropology approach. And so there are other ways you can see anthropological approaches as well as the psychological approaches. So various anthropological approaches means you have to talk about evolutionary approach of religion. So evolutionary approach. So second one is functional approach of study of the religion. And third one is a structural approach. So structural approach. And this one is the psychological approach. So now you can see critically examine the anthropological approaches to study the religion. So what you have to write? Anthropological approach means you have to write symbolic and interpretative, evolutionary approach, functional approach, structural approach. So when it comes to culture and personality school, they are belongs to psychoanalytical school. That means psychological approach also part of the, or it is also a methodology used by the anthropologist. So you have to write all these methods, all these kind of approaches to study the religion: evolutionary, functional, structural, so symbolic and interpretative as well as psychological. So thereby there are 5 basic approaches of study of religion. So there are 5 basic approaches of study of the religion. So now we will see what are all those. So when it comes to know that these 2 questions are representing the same kind of answer, now we will see the content. So when it comes to evolutionary approach, the basic idea is that which type of religion was the first in origin, because we have so many diversities in the form of religions. So E.B. Taylor said animism was the first form of religion. Okay, Herbert Spencer, he said that ancestor worship was the first form of religion. Merit animatism. So if you observe that Max Muller, he said about the naturism. James Frazer, he talked about the magic and later evolution into a religion finally. So science. So Durkheim, he was studied the Australian Arunta tribes, and he spoke about totemism was the first form of origin. So Smith and Long, they said about monotheism after studying the Bushman of Kalahari Desert, Australian Aboriginal tribes. So they were the most primitive tribes on the earth. So evolutionary approach basically talk about the which form of religion was the universal in nature and earliest form created by the human beings. Okay, so then after how it has been changed, so that also comes into the prospect of evolutionary. So this is the first point you have to write. The second approach, if you observe, so psychological approach heavily contributed by Sigmund Freud. So he was a psychologist and he observed so various cultural categories in psychological domain. So Sigmund Freud, he himself wrote a book called Totem and Taboo. So Totem and Taboo. So in his book, he explained through Oedipus myth. So through this Oedipus myth, so how did various psychological phenomena or conflicts between the psychological state that resulted into the origin of totems as well as the taboos. So Wilhelm, so they talked about, it was the earliest man fear towards the environment. So to cope up or to overcome this fear, they created religion. That means here the psychological state of fear was the reason for emergence of religion. So if you come to the Rudolf Otto, fear about supernaturals. So earliest people were believed in the existence of supernatural. So to get appeased or to get rid of the fear about the supernaturals, they created a religion. So that means psychological approach study about the various aspects of psychological state, that is fear, anxiety, so anger, jealous. So these are all the various psychological state of individual. And when it comes to a group phenomena, that is the stage where humans were created religion. So this is the second approach. So third one, you have to analyze functional approach. So this is most important. So functional approach of study of religion is very, very important. Why? Because anything, if humans created, so without having any utility or in any purpose, we never create anything. So if you take about the kinship systems or kinship terminology, or if you take the marriages, families, everything we created means there must be some function to perform. Otherwise, so for for a happiness purpose, we never create anything. Okay, so this is how we can see Malinowski, he studied that religion and magic present in every society to purge the brain from, so purge the brain from anxiety and uncertainties. So that was the function of religion and magic created by human societies. So if you understand that Radcliffe Brown, he studied the Andaman Islander people, M.N. Srinivas, he studied the Coorg people. So, these two people heavily talk about the purpose or function of the religion is solidarity and integration. So it bind all the people or bring all the people in a society into so one unit or one group. So if you observe the Emile Durkheim, so he wrote the book called Elementary Structures of Religious Life. So elementary structures of religious life. So in this book, you talk about the concept of sacred and profane. Okay, so he understood that so religion has been performing various functions. So those are all secular functions as well as religious functions. So first one, so the religion provide meanings and purpose of the life. So second one is it reinforces the unity and stability. So third one, it acts as an agent of social control and it strengthens the social order. So it provided the well-being, either physically or psychological well-being also contributed by religion. And it motivated the people to positive social change. So these are all the functions performed by religion in every society. So these things, so with appropriate case studies, okay, the books where they written, which type of tribe they studied, everything you have to include. So every approach itself has the, every approach itself has the worthy of asking 15 marker question. But unfortunately, so they ask like all the approaches to be discussed. So you have to write minimum content of this much. So next one is, so structural approach. Structural approach generally, Levi-Strauss, he was the father of structuralism. So he analyzed the every cultural categorization creation in the form of binary opposition. So binary opposition. So he was heavily studied the various mythologies. So various mythologies, he broke the mythologies into smallest unit called mythemes. So when he observed the mythemes, so there was a universal thought process of binary opposition in the smallest units of mythologies. Those are called mythemes. So these are all same in everywhere. Then he come to know that universal human brain. So Lewis Dumont, he studied the Varna system of India on the binary oppositions of purity and pollution, purity and impurity. So purity and impurity are the concepts associated with the religion. Okay, so that is the structural approach you should follow these people. So next one is symbolic and interpretative anthropology. So in symbolic approach and interpretative approach, so Victor Turner studied the Nembu society rituals. So Nembu rituals in the form of puberty ritual, social drama. So if you observe the Clifford Geertz, he studied the Balinese religion. So Balinese religion. So if you observe the Maris Douglas, she also contributed for the study of religion as in the form of symbols. So these are all the 5 approaches. If it is the 20 marker question, you have to include all these approaches. If it is the 15 marker question, so you have to touch all these approaches, but you have to write minimal for each author contribution. So that is okay for 15 marker. So this is all about, sometimes the same concept might be asked in different multiple ways. So you should not worry about, or you should not get confused about the concept. So this is for today. Tomorrow we'll discuss about next question.